Hi, I'm Joanne Jensen, and I am a Type 2 Soft Subtle Beauty in Carol Tuttle's beauty profiling system. And what I wanted to do was make a video for all of you gals out there who have not tried to dye or refashion their clothes yet, even though you probably have to. If you were like me, you have a lot of black or a lot of bright colors that just aren't in the Type 2 color range. So what I wanted to do was kind of take you through and show you just the basics of dyeing, a beginner's guide to dyeing. Nothing new or different, it's all in the RIT directions, but just kind of show you through it. First, my disclaimer, I am not an expert. I am not an expert in dyeing clothes, and I'm not a textiles expert, but just want to give you the benefit of my experience of having done quite a bit of it. So with that, we're going to go forward and give it a try. So this is me taking your hand and showing you how to do it. Okay, thanks. Well, let's get started. The first step in dyeing your clothes. The best, quickest, easiest way to dye your clothes is in a washing machine. Unfortunately, not this type. You need the type of washing machine that is a top loader with a central agitator, and that will fill up with a lot of water. One thing that's a kind of a good analogy when you're dyeing clothes is to think of cooking pasta. Pasta needs a lot of room to swish around in the water, a lot of room to move around. Dyeing clothes is kind of like that too. If you don't have enough water, you might get spots or too much in one area or uneven results. So the best results is the top loading washer with an agitator that has a lot of water. The first thing you're going to do, if you're able to do it in that type of a washer, is you fill it up with water. If you're doing just a few items, just a half a load for like 3 to 5 smaller items. If you're doing more than that, then you would fill up your washer a full load and fill it with water first. Then you're going to add, if you're doing dyeing or color removing, you're going to add your dye or color remover first. After your water is full, swish it around, make sure it's all mixed in. Then you can add in your clothes and submerge, make sure the clothes are completely submerged and there's room, like the pasta, lots of room to move around, and so they're not smushed or bunched together. And then on most machines they would have something where you can say, I'm going to have it just agitate for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So put on a timer. Put a timer on your washer to just agitate for 30 minutes. And then you can walk away. Have your own little timer so you can keep track when you're away doing something else or relaxing, so you know when to come back. After about 20 minutes, you want to come back to your dye bath, check the clothes, see what they look like. Of course, when it's wet, they're going to be darker. And it might lose some of that dye when you wash it as well. So keep that in mind, look for something about 5 shades darker than what you actually want. And use your own judgment, be smart about it, and it'll come out fine. So, once again, if you're also doing anything with natural fabrics, like cotton, also be sure to add in a cup of salt. A cup of salt, and this is, again, in the RIT directions. Make sure you have a magnifying glass when you're reading the RIT directions. And then the salt will help fix the dye into the fabric. If you're dyeing synthetics, then you would put in a cup of vinegar. That way, that also helps, I'm not sure how or why, but that helps fix the dye into your fabric. So once you have all that done and your washer is done doing its dye bath, then you can rinse it out and just launder as usual, and we'll see what the results are. Now, after the washing machine method, the other methods that they mention on the RIT box and the RIT instructions are you can either do it on a stove top, but you would need some kind of huge cauldron in order to do that, or you can do it in the sink, which I don't really think gives you a whole lot of room either. So my method is I use this big laundry, it's actually more of an outdoor tub, very sturdy, good construction. You're going to need, good sturdy handles, because when it's full of water and your wet clothes, it's going to weigh like 25, 30 pounds. So this is the way that I do my dyeing, and that way you can do it too if you don't have the right kind of washer at home. Okay, now the first step for when you're wanting to dye your clothes, especially if you're like me and you had many black clothes in your wardrobe that you need to repurpose, you cannot just dye over the black clothes. What you need to do first is remove the color. So therefore we're going to start with a RIT color remover. You can also use bleach, and we might try that later just to show you how it's done. So the first thing we're going to do is you need about 3 gallons of really, really hot water. Get really hot water from your tap. You know, use like a milk jug or some other gallon container, and we're going to fill up our big bucket of water. Okay, once we get some water in there, you're going to add in the RIT color remover. Okay, finished up removing the color from the black items I had today. The first one, this was the black tank and black socks. These turned out to be kind of a nice sagey army green, and it does go well with the Type 2 color card. So I could keep it this color, or if I wanted to I could take out more color, do the color remover again, and then try to dye it a different color. This was the skirt that I had today. I'm very pleased with this. This is a beautiful, very nice charcoal gray, but this is the second time. I did the color remover on this once before, and the second time it turns out a beautiful color. So don't be afraid to try something twice. In the past, these are some of the other results that I have gotten. The socks, some of these socks did turn out very nice gray. Mostly cotton kind of socks. This is cotton and rayon shirt. Also, on the first time through, came out a very nice gray. These were black, mostly cotton slacks. Kind of a funny greenish color that I don't know if I decided what to do yet. It's a nice enough color that would, you know, go with our card. But if I wanted it a different color, I could take it through again. And just wanted to show you some of the things I've done with patterns that I've had that were not quite the right color or too high a contrast. I dipped these in gray, and now they come out very nice, you know, more subtle colors, took out the contrast, and took down the vividness and brightness of the colors. So your beautiful florals that you had can turn out quite nicely once they're dipped in the gray. So I hope that helps you see with the kind of results that you can have and still come out with nice Type 2 colors. This was a black top that I had. Took out the black with a color remover and dyed a wine. The RIT color, that's the wine shade. I'm not sure. I think it looks okay, but it might be more of a Type 3 color. That's one of the problems when you take out the black. If you don't take out enough and you dye over, it might still be too dark of a shade. So just some examples of how things can turn out that are good, and some ways where it might take you a while to get used to the color. You know, it comes out another kind of an army green color that I didn't really care for. So you put it away for a while, and then you find it again, and it's like, oh, that's a nice olive green. I can wear it now. So you kind of, once your eye gets trained to the more subtle Type 2 tones, it might take you a while to find that this is a nice color. I can wear it now. So I hope that helps you see what kind of results you can get and how you can play with them. So now the next part of refashioning our clothes would be to, after you've removed color, or if you just want to start fresh and start dyeing, let's start with the things I'm going to dye right now. This is just a white cotton shirt, and I want to dye it gray. A silk scarf. Now I know everybody's kind of afraid of ruining silk. Silk is actually a fairly strong fabric. It helps to think that, you know, the natural fibers, wool, silk, cotton, linen, ramie, have been around for thousands of years, and dry cleaning is a fairly recent invention, a good one, but you know, this is, although it says dry clean only, you may take that as a rule or as a suggestion. I'm taking it as a suggestion because I want this grayed out, a little bit too bright for me. And then the pair of jeans that are, you know, blue, I want them grayed down a little bit. So today we're going to be doing our gray dye on natural fibers. Hot water, 3 gallons. Here's my second gallon of water. And, you know, you can use like a milk jug to get your approximation of a gallon. And then we'll put in our pearl gray RIT dye. This is a liquid. Either one works just fine. And because we're using natural fibers, we're dyeing natural fibers today, the cotton, we always be sure to put in a cup of salt. Just plain old salt, nothing fancy. I'm not sure why, but that's what it says. It helps to fix the dye into the fabric, as I understand it. So we got everything in here. We're going to mix it all up first. Mix up your salt and your dye so it's a nice even dye bath. And just to make sure that we have, so far there's 2 gallons of water. Make sure it's a really good hot temperature. I have about a gallon of water boiling on the stove. Well, simmering. And we'll pour that in as well. Okay. Now when we put in our clothes, you need to get them wet first. Okay, so we're going to get our clothes wet first, because that will help it dye better. You don't have uneven or blotchy dyeing. When it's all wet, it takes the dye all at once much more easily. So that's why it's nice to have yourself right next to a sink. Okay, there's the first one. And here's the rest of our items in the dye bath. And we're going to mix it around, keep it moving, and make sure that there's plenty of water and not too many clothes. Otherwise, you're going to have uneven dyeing. And the silk scarf, this I will only keep in here for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. It's thinner material, and the silk will just drink up the dye. It really soaks it in very quickly. So I'm going to watch this after about 5-10 minutes. And you can see, even though we just put it in, you know, this white shirt is taking on the gray dye pretty quickly, but you got to make sure it takes it on evenly. Okay, so we're just going to let this sit, and I'll continue stirring it for probably at least 20-30 minutes. Check it at that point, and if you feel like you need it to have more, then you can add more time.